So it's great to have this week's frontline interview. And as you know, we've had all sorts of people in all sorts of jobs over the last few weeks. We were just thinking about it here, actually. We've had bus driver, we've had nurse in intensive care, we've had pharmacist, nursery worker, supermarket manager, all sorts of different jobs of people who are members of our church. And I wanted for quite a few weeks to be able to interview our interview this morning, which is Lisa Barr. Welcome, Lisa. Great to
Hello,
have you with
thank you
us.
for having me.
Pleasure. And Lisa, as you'll hear in a minute, is head of school here at St Matthew's Primary School. And we've heard so much in the news about the situation of children and staff in schools and how it's affecting all of them in the lockdown, and this is very much an ongoing thing. So I thought it was really good if we could hear from you, Lisa, this morning. So first of all, can you just tell us a bit about what your job entails, how long you've been at St Matthew's School, and what do you normally enjoy in normal times about your job?
So I've been at St Matthew's now for 10 years. I came to St Matthew's as an NQT, newly qualified teacher, back in 2010. And since I've done lots of different jobs I was RE leader for a little while, I was Key Stage 2 leader, assistant head, deputy head, and I'm now the head of school here at St Matthew's. So yeah, it's been quite a whirlwind 10 years for me. The things I usually enjoy, I think, about my job is mainly working with so many different people, obviously all the children, their families, the staff, and just getting to work with lots of different people across the community is probably one of my favourite things usually about my job. And I think as well the fact that at St Matthew's we just all work so well together. It does, feel like a family here at St Matthew's, and that's one of my favourite things about working at this school in particular, and it's probably why after 10 years I've never left, because it does sort of feel like a second home to me being here for such a long time. And I think as well just being able to support in the community, just working with children, we are always trying to give them chances to raise money for charity or do things to help those in the local area. So that gives us the chance to join in and help as well, which is a really nice thing.
That's great. So I imagine that your life at work and probably at home have changed very dramatically over the last few weeks, as for so many people, but particularly someone in your sort of role. So give us a bit of a flavour about how life has changed.
I'm sure it, like you say, it's changed for everyone. I suppose for me and for us at school, the biggest difference is when we've, like everybody else, been working from home quite a lot, which you can imagine going from working in a busy school with 450 children and 60 staff every day and seeing all the parents and everything is very different sitting at home by yourself all day. So that's probably one of the biggest differences for not just for me, but for all of us here. And I think as well, the change of our focus, usually our focus would always be on teaching and learning and helping the children to move forward in their progress and focusing on developing the children in that way. But our focus recently has more been on health and safety and hygiene and how to keep the school clean and how to keep everybody apart and how to keep everybody safe, which is very different, obviously, because we always want to be thinking about the children's learning. That's our main job. So that has been quite different. And I suppose as well, just not seeing all of the children all the time. We do, we obviously care a lot about the children, their families, and we're used to seeing them every day and knowing how they are and what's been going on with them. And it's very strange and different for us to not be able to see the children every day and see how they are and talk to them.
Yeah. So it was a very strange day. I remember when all the children went home, whenever that was, in March, and then of course the school has not been closed, has it, since then? So tell me a bit about what's been going on actually in the school, as well as what's been going on for the children at home.
Well, yeah, you read a lot in the papers about schools being closed, which is funny because we've never really been closed. From day one, we've been open to the children of key workers and vulnerable children. And in the beginning, that was sort of, we started off with maybe 8 children, 10 children, and we're now up to as many as 47 children across a week in that group. So they might be children of NHS workers, of bus drivers, or just children who would benefit from being at school for lots of different reasons. So we have been open to those children from the very beginning. But obviously that still feels very different, having sort of 12 children in the beginning when you're used to 450. It's a very different atmosphere in school. So it has been different. And then in terms of now, obviously, over the last couple of weeks, we've been reopened to reception, year 1 and year 6. Obviously, not all of those children have come back, so we've got roughly sort of 30% of each of those year groups who have come back. So it's still very quiet. You know, it's weird walking around the school and you can't hear all the children and you can't see them all walking around and doing what they would normally be doing. Normally I've been in and out of classrooms, you know, visiting and seeing how they're getting on, which I now can't do. So it is a very different feeling still in school, but it's nice to be able to welcome back some of the children and see them and their families and have that sort of start to come together again. But obviously we're looking forward to it being safe enough to everyone being able to come back to school and being able to have that community feel that we usually have here.
It's a big part of our school, isn't it? And we're missing that a lot. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
What about Carol?
So we are doing the online learning, obviously, for the children who are at home. So setting lots of things for them to do on DB Primary, and then they've got access to, you know, BBC Bite Size, or they've got access to other websites, you know, TT Rockstars, things they enjoy. So they've got lots of things to be getting on with, but I imagine it's very difficult and strange for parents and children who are trying to learn at home as well, which particularly if you're working as well, that can't be very easy. So I think it's just very different for everyone.
Yeah, it is hard for everyone, I think. And what about for you at home? I mean, you described the sort of working at home, but how has it been different for you at home in the last few weeks?
I think for me, I do tend, well, in the past, I would see friends and family very often. I would often, you know, in an evening or weekends, be very busy all of the time. And obviously, like everybody else, I now can't see friends and family, particularly with this rain. The whole, you know, doing things in the garden has gone out of the window a little bit now as well. So it is difficult and different not seeing friends and family as much as I would. But in some ways, I think I'm kind of enjoying this new, slower pace of life a little bit as well, because, you know, having more time at home to do things maybe more relaxing and to do things like exercise. And I think there is something about, you know, a slower pace of life that I think I will take forward from this. But obviously it is different not being able to see people the way that you normally would.
Yeah, sure. So looking back over since this happened, what would you say have been the particularly difficult things for you?
I think, as I said before, having so much time away from friends and family is probably one of the main things for me personally, but also not being able to have all of the children in school. We know what an important support system we are to many families and to children. So, you know, there is a sense of feeling that you're not there for them in the way you normally would be, and that is difficult. There's nothing we can really do about it. You know, we're doing as much as we can, but there is that feeling of wanting to be that support system for those families that, you know, are missing that as well. I think we'll just be grateful when school is open to everybody again, so that we can do even more to support the children, because ultimately that's our job, is to support children and their families, and at the moment it's difficult to do that in the way that we'd like to.
Yeah, must be very tough when that's why you went into this in the first place, and it's one of the things that's very difficult to do at all, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. And we do, you know, obviously everybody here and anyone who works in education, we care so much about the children and their families and what happens to them and what they're going through, that it's difficult to have this separation and to not be able to be there in the same way.
And beyond what you said about taking life at a slightly lower pace, are there any other aspects of the last few weeks that you think you've enjoyed?
Yeah, I think definitely having more time at home. I've got very into home organisation and cleaning, and my house has never been so clean, which I'm kind of getting quite a lot of enjoyment out of now, which was not the case before. I think as well, I'm probably more in touch with some people than I usually would be. The people that I don't usually talk to as often, who maybe live further away, or we're all busy with our lives, we're more in touch. I think we've kind of renewed old friendships as well, which is really nice to sort of have the time and space to talk to people who might live abroad, or, you know, who you've got busy jobs, don't often talk, and now we do. So I think that's been really nice to sort of get back in touch with those people.
Yeah, it's important in the middle of such a difficult time to spot the things that are positives as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So until a couple of weeks ago, we were all doing the clap for carers on a Thursday evening, and I wonder what that meant to you.
Well, obviously at home we were joining in every week with the saucepans and the spoons, and it was obviously nice to support, you know, other carers, so workers in the NHS, for example. It's good for us to be able to show that. And I think for us at St Matthew's, I think I see how hard the staff here work. You see a lot of in the press about teachers are just sitting at home, they got all this time off, you know, they're not doing anything. It's certainly not the case that, you know, certainly not here anyway. And I know how hard they work. I know that the gesture did mean a lot to all of us. And I think because we in particular have such a supportive parent community, we've received so many messages from parents, or when we've seen them sort of at the gates, of praise and positive feedback and support and things like that. And the Clap for Carers, it really does make all the difference. It hasn't been easy, particularly, you know, many staff are battling, you know, their own personal problems around bereavement and things like that. And it does make all the difference when it's been a tough day, and then you do see it on the news or out on your own street, the Clap for Carers, or when someone from our own community gives us some positive feedback. It really does make all the difference for us. And just for me on a personal level, for us, we don't have a particularly what's the sociable street, should I say. We didn't have much community spirit beforehand, and this was probably the first time we saw many of our neighbours and sort of gave them a wave. And now we see each other out on the street, we kind of give them a smile and a wave, and it has brought a bit more community spirit for us, so that was quite nice.
That's really good. That's really good to hear. So one of the reasons we do these interviews is so that we can ask people in the church to pray in a bit more informed way for the people we hear from and other people in their similar jobs. So are there particular things that you'd ask people to pray for, either for you, for the school, for the staff? What would you say?
I think what comes to mind for me would be, you know, for our staff who are doing their very best to, you know, do what is a really difficult job at the moment, and the frustration of not being able to do as much as they'd like. And, you know, there is a lot in the press that, you know, putting teachers down and saying they're not doing enough, and that does all have an impact. So sort of praying for our staff and their well-being. I think as well, our children and our families who might have their own hardships. You know, we're all struggling, but some people have, you know, financial hardships, bereavement, are struggling with homeschooling, are struggling with childcare whilst trying to go to work, and are maybe feeling quite isolated without all their usual support systems. So just for those families who are struggling more than most at home, I think would be a really good thing to pray for.
Great, thank you. Yes, that's really good. So everyone at St Matthew's, listen to that, and please do pray for all those things in your regular prayers. So Lisa, thank you very much for giving up your time for this interview. Just to say to everyone at St Matthew's, we have a governing body at St Matthew's School. It's governing body for St Matthew's and Cowley St Lawrence, and we've got 3 members of St Matthew's Church who are part of that. That's myself and Linda Ryan and Laura Simpson. And we see from our role as governors just how hard Lisa and all the staff are doing looking after the children, and they've done a fantastic job. Massively hard work to get the school ready for these children to come back in, and they're doing a fantastic job at communicating with all the families as well. So once again, can I just say thank you to you and your staff, because I think you're doing an amazing job. Keep going, and we'll hold you now prayers, and thank you for being willing to be interviewed. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.